questions for Bay District Schools. It's extremely awesome to be here with you today. It's a very busy time for us. Just discussing that, everybody has an opinion about masking and vaccines currently, and everybody wants to disagree with everybody else. So we're very busy at the office trying to get ready for school to start. So I put together a few slides, and then if you have questions, certainly feel free to stop me along the way or ask when I'm done, because I definitely want to answer any questions that you have. So I thought we would start with a really short message from the superintendent.
I'm the superintendent of Bay District Schools. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that we're experiencing exponential growth in our area, and that means our schools are growing as well. As realtors, you are some of the first people that Bay County newcomers meet, and I want you to know that I appreciate the amazing job you do helping find homes for them and answering questions about our schools. I'm really excited to share our new high school rack cards with you. I think you have access to both paper and digital versions of these, and I know they are going to be a great resource for you and for your clients. As you can see from the cards, there are great things going on at each of our high schools, and we're very proud of all the students and their amazing accomplishments. I also want to take a minute to share with you, make sure you understand about our robust school choice program. As long as there's space available, enrollment is open each year in the spring for parents to apply to send their students to any school in the district. Transportation isn't provided for school choice students, but I know that many of our parents are only too happy to provide their own transportation. We also extend courtesy throughout the years to our military families, and we do all we can to support their transition into our community. We sincerely appreciate their service and commitment, and we work closely with both bases to ensure our military children have what they need. I'm so excited about the number of new homes and housing units being built in our community and the opportunities ahead for all of us. I'd like to close by reminding all of us about the old saying, a rising tide lifts all ships. Our schools do not make our students successful. Actually, it's the other way around. Our students and their amazing accomplishments make our schools successful, and in doing so, they lift up the students around them. Our community will continue to thrive as long as all of us continue to invest in public education and ensure that all students, regardless of their background, have access to high-quality staff members, rigorous curriculum, the mental health supports they need, and great role models and mentors to follow. Building relationships with students one at a time is the key to making sure all of their dreams come true. Thank you for everything you're doing for our community. God bless you.
So first I thought we'd start with just kind of a look at who we are. So this information is on our website and is obviously updated every single day. So you can see our current student enrollment. You can see our ESE count. That's the exceptional student education, so the number of students who are receiving additional services. Then our ELL count, that stands for English Language Learners. So you can see we have more than 1,000 students right now who qualify as ELL. And those more than 1,000 students speak a staggering 89 different languages. So it is by far not just Spanish. It's a lot of different languages. And then currently we have about 1,600 students who are homeless. Our definition of homeless is the federal government's definition, which means no fixed address of their own. So these are not students who are living on the street necessarily, but they're students who are in transition. They may be staying with family members. They may be staying in weekly, read-by-the-week hotels, at the rescue mission. So that definitely, as you can see, has a huge impact on our school system. Before Hurricane Michael, we averaged about 780 students who were considered homeless. During the year that followed the storm, that number rose as high as 5,500. So almost a quarter of our students were in that transitional phase. And so now it's at 1,600, but that really still continues to have an impact on our school system, because many times these are children who don't know where they're going home to that night. They don't know who they're going to eat dinner with, and they don't know on whose couch they're sleeping. So that definitely impacts their ability to pay attention at school and their ability to make friends and keep friends and feel like they're contributing members of the student body. So we're very diverse. This information, again, is available on our website. So a few celebrations. Our students combined to take more than 3,000 advanced placement exams last year, which is amazing. We have 32 unique advanced placement courses. So those are courses where high school students can sit in class and get high school credit and also have a chance to earn college credit as well. The high school rack cards that the superintendent referenced, I have sent in, and you guys have access to digital copies of these as well. But what we did was take each high school and use the front of the card to talk about their unique accomplishments, and then the backs of the cards are all the same. They all talk about BDS. So each of our high schools are very, very unique. We do encourage parents to take tours and to get to know them because they all have different options when it comes to advanced placement, dual enrollment, ACE work, IB, those kinds of things. So we have 37 different dual enroll courses at our schools. So sometimes our students are sitting on a high school campus taking a college class, and sometimes they're leaving that high school campus and going to the campus of Gulf Coast to enroll in that class. Our CTE, which stands for Career and Technical Education students, earned more than 1,300 industry certifications last year. So these are students that may be going on to college, or they may be going on to Haney, or they may just be going right into the work world. And we're able to give them certifications that make them competitive with experienced adults in the computer field, in engineering. We have construction technology, all sorts of different things. We have a lot of students who just really come to school because of their CTE programs. We're about to have an open house at Rutherford. We have an extremely expanded welding program there at Rutherford, and the students are able to come out of that and look at jobs that start paying at $50,000 and $60,000 with just a high school degree and the certifications they're able to earn from us. Our graduates earned in excess of $27 million in scholarship offers last year, and about 70 of them on average go on to join the military. Our federally calculated graduation rate is at 80%, but it's worth noting, people say, well, why isn't it at 100%? Well, the federal government, in all their wisdom, they don't count kids who take 5 years to graduate. There are many students, through no fault of their own, especially kids who were impacted by Hurricane Michael, but there are kids who are impacted by homelessness, kids who become teen parents, all sorts of reasons why a child might take a 5th year to get through high school. So they graduate, but the feds don't count them. Yeah, it's really odd.
And that's not fair. It's not.
No, it's not, because our teachers and our administrators in our schools work really hard with those students. So that's really disheartening, but we're going to support everybody. If it takes you 6 years, then, you know, we're still going to be there for you. So we count them, but the feds don't. But on the flip side, more than 1,000 of our students, as you can see, are considered homeless. We have hundreds and hundreds of weekend food bags that go home. We call that program Blessings in a Backpack. And children rely on those backpacks full of food to get through the weekend. This is a really sobering statistic, and a lot of people ask us, and I'm sure you get questions too, about charters versus non-charter schools. Let me just preface what I'm about to say by saying we support school choice and we support a parent's right to choose. The reality is that the charter schools in our community have basically become like private schools. They're very selective about who they let in. There's a certain profile of the kind of parent they're looking for, and a certain profile of the kind of parent who can give back to the charter school in the ways that they are expected, both financially and in time-wise. So if you look at kindergarten readiness, we have schools where less than 1/3 of the kindergartners test as ready for kindergarten in the fall. And that means that less than 1/3 of the students know their ABCs, know their colors, can count to 10, can sit in a chair, you know, those sorts of things. Most of the charters report a kindergarten readiness rate of over 75%. So right out of the gate, kindergarten looks different. And what our kindergarten teachers are trying to do with students is different than what the charter schools are trying to do. So one of the unintended outcomes, I think, of the choice and charters is that our children are becoming more segmented and more segregated than they have been in the past, because there are public school children and there are charter school children, and they don't really meet in the middle. We have several hundred students who are on the waiting list for an Elevate Bay mentor, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. About 2/3 of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch, which is a vastly higher percentage than at the charter schools. But because of Hurricane Michael, our kids are in the 3rd year in a row of free breakfast and lunch. So everybody, regardless of income, gets free breakfast and lunch at the non-charter schools. The charter schools made the decision not to participate in the federal meal program, so they have different rules at their schools for their students. Another sobering statistic is that we currently have more than 3,700 children who are being raised by someone other than a parent. Many of those are grandparents, some of those are neighbors, some of those are foster parents, all sorts of different family iterations. We also are seeing an alarming increase in the children being raised by their great-grandparents. And that is really a game changer for us, because you can imagine someone who is in their 80s raising a kindergartner these days. There's a huge learning curve for them. So they require a lot of support, and you may have seen some of the publicity we did. We've had grandparenting seminars where we've tried to encourage them to come in and let us show you how to use your smartphone to email your child's teachers, and let us show you how to access the website, because for many people they just don't know. They don't know how to do that. So here's what we wish parents knew and how you can help us as these questions come up. Answers to almost everything can be found on our website. We keep our district website very updated. On the home page we have a sort of how can I, and then it's just a list. How can I find out what my kid's having for lunch? How can I find the dress code? How can I find school supplies? I mean, all those things. They're right there on the home page. We're in the process of adding an AI chatbot to the website as well, so that when parents will be able to answer a question, and we should be able to come up with a tailored answer for them 24/7. So I'm looking forward to that. We have a very active presence on social media. I hope all of you guys follow us on social media. We have about 25,000 followers. In some situations, like today with the mask stuff, I wish that we didn't sometimes. Because with all those followers come all those opinions. But we are glad to have that vehicle to share information with parents. Using Parent Portal, parents can remain connected to their child's education 24/7. So with a little owl icon on the front of our website, that's Parent Portal. All parents should be signed up for Parent Portal. That gives us their contact information, which we obviously need in the case of an emergency, but also for regular weekly updates. The superintendent throughout the school year sends a regular weekly update, but it can only email to those parents for whom we have an email address. So that's very important. But Parent Portal also allows parents to go in and email all their children's teachers. They can see grades. When the kid comes home and says, you know, I made an A on that test, the parent can say, well, let me check that. Have some important conversations, especially in high school. I mean, we encourage parents to check that attendance every day, because nothing's going to shock a kid like when mom says at dinner, hey, tell me about that tardy second period today. You know, they need to know that we're watching and that we're involved. So Parent Portal is very important. It's also important for parents to understand that every school has a story to tell, and that story is not necessarily told in the school grade. It is heartbreaking to us in the system to hear people say, well, I don't want my kid to go to that school because it's a D school. The school grade is really mostly indicative of the socioeconomic values of that particular community and the opportunities children were extended before they came to school. It is not indicative of the work ethic or the achievement levels or the abilities of the staff at that school. If less than a third of your kids start kindergarten ready, are you going to be able to make the same growth in kindergarten as another school where 100% of their kids are kindergarten ready? There are schools, public and charter schools, where that is the case, and in kindergarten they're able to work on teaching the children to read, which is great, because that's really kind of a first grade-ish kind of end of kindergarten, first grade skill. But there are other schools where they literally are working with children on, this is how you sit in a chair. No, you can't take your shoes off at school. We don't hit our friends. And by the way, this is called the color red. Have you ever seen this before? So it's really different. It's very diverse. So school grades, we encourage parents that have questions, go and see the school. Go meet the principal. They will give you a tour. Go meet the people. Get a vibe for the school. And before you make your decision, just based on school grades. So our campuses are open this year. We had to limit extra visitors last year because of COVID concerns, but right now we're starting off welcoming visitors. Yes, exactly. So we welcome parents to come and set up an appointment, come and take a tour of the school. We do, as the superintendent said, have a very active school choice program. So parents have the ability to apply to take their children to any school in our community. They can live in Callaway and drive their kid to Breakfast Point if that's what they want to do, if there's space available. So some of those schools obviously fill up very quickly. Breakfast Point, with all of the expansion going on with Phase 4, is really going to become a school where there almost isn't any school choice, simply because 100% of the neighbors are going to fill the school. So, but the other schools are open on a space available basis. We have the new school opening, A. Gary Walsingham Academy on Chipsfield Parkway. We're going to have a big open house. I was out there this morning actually taking pictures. They say it's going to be ready. The superintendent says it's going to be ready, and I'm like, oh my, there's a lot to do out here. So we're having a ribbon cutting next week, but we won't be able to let anybody in the school because they'll trip over contractors. It is, they are 24/7 out there right now. But in February, we're going to have a huge open house, invite all the community to come and tour the school, see what it's about, because parents can apply using school choice, and it's on the beach, but it's just over the bridge, so it's really not that far. It's probably 10 minutes from here. So people always ask, how can they help us? One of the ways that you can help us is by becoming an Elevate Bay mentor or encouraging other people to become a mentor. I think, did Stacy already come and speak to you guys about that?
Not yet, but if I can comment. So we're having a training class here. I personally have been involved in Elevate Bay for 3 years. Last year was a bust, it didn't happen. And then my kid, I kept the same kid, she ended up moving to a charter school, and they don't have Elevate Bay in the charter schools. I'm going to tell you from a personal experience, I got so attached to this little one. And after Michael, when I did get to see her for the first time, she threw her arms around me and just sobbed. And I'm going to cry talking about her. But, so I'm going to do it this year for Lucille Moore right down the road. So I'm going to tell you it's the most rewarding experience. And Kim, do you know what the date is we're doing the training here? So we're going to do training with, it's an hour long that just tells you, basically what the do's and don'ts are. And so we're really proud to partner with them and offering the training for Elevate Bay.
Thank you for that endorsement. And I also have been an Elevate Bay mentor, and my husband as well. So my poor husband gets recruited for all these things, along with me. But yes, exactly. So when he was at Oceanarium, and I said, listen, we need people who are like science and math people, and that is like not me. So not all of the children that are involved in Elevate Bay are necessarily the needy kids. Some of them need academic interventions and can benefit from just someone else to listen to me read. When you're becoming an emerging reader, you need to practice those skills, and maybe they have a mom who works 3 jobs and just can't do it, and so they need someone to come and just listen to them read. Some of them need some more specific academic support. Some of them need behavioral assistance. We had one of the guys from Oceanarium was going to Lucille Moore, and he had a group of young boys that were like 4th and 5th graders, and he was working on, what it means to really be a man. And we don't hit people. That may be what you've seen, but that's not what we do. And we don't curse, and we don't lose our temper. Just those kinds of things, those kinds of skills. Some of them just need someone to hug.
She needed someone to love on her.
Yeah, and they just need, and some of them just need someone to go, hey, I heard you had a math test last week, how'd it go? Because that doesn't always happen at home for many reasons. And I'm not faulting, we have parents, as you guys know, working 3 jobs, and things fall through the cracks. So my husband did a group of 4th and 5th graders, and they did science and math. They were the gifted kids, but the school they attended was not big enough to have its own gifted program full-time. So he was just doing interventions for those kids, like the fun stuff. They were building things and doing hands-on. They were blowing stuff up, all kinds of things. I'm like, just don't lay me on the front page of the paper. Don't, shoot rocket off in the school. So he really enjoyed it as well. So it's a 30-minute commitment twice a month. That's the minimum. But many people just work it into their schedule and go every week, which is absolutely welcome as well. So please talk that up, because this is a great quote, and I'm not going to read it so you guys can see it, but this describes what it's like to teach right now. It is like everything is on fire. It really is. Teachers in the past, before the storm, may have had 1 or 2 children in their class of 20 who were experiencing some kind of crisis at home. My parents are getting a divorce, I'm moving, that kind of thing. And now it's as many as half and sometimes 3/4 of the kids that are in that boat because of the pandemic, because of the hurricane. And so it's just so much more than just teaching the writing and the math and the reading, and our teachers need all of our support. Oh, picked up the wrong clicker. There you go. So this is how you can reach us. And this quote I do think bears reading. For somebody to do well in school, someone needs to make him go to bed on time and get a good 10 hours sleep. Someone must make him do his homework. Somebody must feed him breakfast in the morning, and somebody must make him mind the teacher. If those things are not done, I don't care how much money you put into the school system, educations will not occur. And that's the problem right now in society because of what's going on. Our teachers and our administrators and our support staff are doing all they can, but they can't. They can't control how much sleep a child gets. They can't control what goes on in their homes. And so it's really, really disheartening to see the situations that some of these kids are living in. So we want to do all we can. That includes, right now, we have a huge outreach to churches and businesses to help us with clothing. We've always provided clothing for students. Once the hurricane came through, we clothed about 10,000 students just through volunteers and donations. And we know with the advent of the dress code that we're going to have to do that again. So we're reaching out to people to help us provide that support. We do the food support. We're doing mentoring. People don't realize how much the school has become the foundation of a community. Our schools are the hubs in their neighborhoods for providing all this socio-emotional stuff as well as the straight academics. And it takes a toll and it requires a village. So we are welcome to all offers of assistance. In case you are wondering, and can't talk about this too much in the public because we don't want to upset people, but the dress code was so needed. I don't know if you guys have been in our schools, went into our schools last year or the year before, but this advent of, and you guys are all like close to my age, so I'm sure you've had this experience. You go shopping and you're like, where's the other half of that top? Because I don't need anything that stops right here. The world doesn't need that for me. So, but our girls were buying what's in style, and which is half a top for twice the price, and pairing it with yoga pants. And it just didn't leave anything to the imagination. The boys were just as bad. The shirts that have literally almost like a string for a shoulder that cut down here that you might wear to the gym. We're coming to school with athletic shorts that left nothing to the imagination. So in elementary school, kids were wearing Halloween costumes on a regular basis. So it's very difficult for someone to teach the class when two of your children are dressed like hats and wagging their tail. If you read the dress code, the actual policy, it literally says no animal tails. Because that's a thing. Who knew? And then the issue with the graphics on the shirts, people are very upset about that. And the problem is that the courts have said that basically it's not for any of us common folk to decide what's offensive. We cannot. So someone wears a Black Lives Matter shirt that is not offensive to them, but it's offensive to someone else. Someone else wears a Come to My Vacation Bible School shirt that is not offensive to them, but it's offensive to someone else. Different political philosophies come to school and they start problems between students. And then the principal cannot say, well, your shirt caused a fight, but his shirt didn't, so his shirt can stay and your shirt has to go. So the end result is no graphics. If they're plain or they're patterned, so they can be striped, they can have flower pattern, they can do like Chris's shirt, that's a patterned shirt. Stripes are fine, and then solids, but they can't speak to any cause or philosophy or anything like that, because it does start a thing, and we just can't be in the position, because we won't be supported when someone appeals that, of saying this was offensive and this was not. So and school should be a safe place for everyone to come. It should not be a place where my shirt causes a fight. That should just be kind of neutral. So that's kind of a little of the thinking behind the dress code. Does anyone have any questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
Why not just have a traditional uniform?
Well, and we did talk about that, but that's one of the things that the charter schools do, and they can do because they can require that. But those traditional uniforms become very expensive. Before, when we had a dress code and it was the polos and like khaki pants or jeans, that's as close as we could come. We cannot require parents as the public school to go and purchase from a particular vendor or to purchase particular items. So the current dress code is as close as we could get to. Basically, the superintendent used the analogy that you have a red light, you have a yellow light, and you have a green light. The principals don't want any yellow lights. They don't want anything that's like vague or ambiguous. They want to just say like, that's good, and that's not going to work, and that's it. So that's where they came up with and all the principals were involved in the dress code.
I guess it's because I grew up wearing a traditional
Me too.
uniform, so I just couldn't understand.
Yeah, me too. And the charters have a specific uniform and a particular vendor, and they have parents who are able to make those purchases, so that they're able to do that.
Does the graphic tee include like the Nike check and so?
Does a small pocket-sized logo? Yeah, a small pocket-sized logo is okay. Because once you say the Nike swoop is okay, then why isn't the Adidas and why isn't the whatever company that's associated with some sort of political movement? So small pocket-sized logo. Because it is hard to find shirts that are plain. And then, you know, people who knew that the V-neck thing was going to be so controversial, but why no V-necks? Because how do you say that V-neck is appropriate and this V-neck is not? You don't. And so again, back to that green light, red light. V-necks are an issue. Low-cut V-necks for boys and girls. And people said, your dress code is sexist. No, it was across the board. Like, it's boys and girls. But how do you get away from that? You just say, we can't do it. None of them. And that's where we are.
So we're at the no V-necks?
We're no V-necks.
Okay, just curious.
Crew
I don't
neck.
have children, so
Yes.
I get it because I have a uniform, but.
Yes.
And the holy jeans, I know that they're complaining a lot about too.
Yes, well, and so just to be candid, I mean, students of both genders were coming to school with rips in the crotch area.
Yeah.
And sometimes they wear underwear and sometimes they don't.
Wow.
So, again, just can't do it.
Sorry.
What about the saggy pants?
What about the saggy pants? Yeah, there's not supposed to be any visible underwear. That's in the
So
policy. So whether it's,
they're still sagging though,
but
you can't see the
no,
underwear.
you can't see the underwear. That's, we'll get involved like crap. Yeah. No visible,
Wow.
no visible private body parts. One of our principals called them the chicken parts. We were like, the chicken parts? Breasts, butts, and
Thighs.
Yeah, so something. I can't remember the third one. But anyway, it was like the chicken parts. We don't want to see your chicken parts. And I'm like, oh, really? There you go.
Oh,
So
That's good.
And really, for all of the people that were upset about it, the truth is, as working adults, we all know that whatever setting you're in has some dress code expectations.
Yes.
There are things in my closet that would be appropriate to wear today and things that wouldn't. For any job, that's the same. For any setting, it's the same. So to have to conform, I mean, if I was in high school, and they can wear, the only graphic t-shirts they can wear are the t-shirts that are sold by the school. So band sells them football. I mean, you could outfit yourself with 10 school shirts, and then you're wearing school shirts and jeans, and that's about as simple as it gets. Like, so if I was still in high school, I'd be all about giving a school shirt, a pair of jeans, and I'm done. So.
yeah.
So anyway, that's where we are with the dress code. So we should see what happens on August 10th. And then we were discussing, I was talking with Beth earlier, so the mask situation right now, masks are optional. The Governor DeSantis, if you've read anything about Governor DeSantis, he is 100% opposed to any mask mandates in the state of Florida. So as a school system, we are under the direction of the governor. So there's not going to be a mask mandate on the local level because the governor has made it 100% clear that not only will he overrule it, but he will call a special session of legislators if needed to ensure that that doesn't happen. Now, is that subject to change? Could the feds try to overrule him? Who knows? But where we are right now is that masks are optional, vaccines are optional. We encourage people to get vaccinated. We encourage those that want to wear masks, employees and students. So I'm sure there will be plenty of students and plenty of adults who are more comfortable wearing a mask, and we support that, and we'll have extras for those who you wouldn't even believe how many masks little kids can go through. We had, in one 3-week period last year, at close to the beginning, we went through about 25,000 masks, disposable ones, because in the hands of a kindergartner, there are all sorts of things. They're hats, they're knee braces, they're elbow pads, they're slingshots. Yes, so anyway, we have thousands and thousands of masks. We have tons and tons of hand sanitizer. Kind of a funny quick story about the hand sanitizer. I'm always saying yes to donations. Anybody wants to help us? I'm like, yes, what do you have? And I'll figure out where it needs to go. So I got a call from someone I worked with after Hurricane Michael, and she said, do you guys need hand sanitizer? I can bring you a truckload of hand sanitizer.
Literally.
Yes, literally a truckload, yeah.
Wow.
So I said yes. So they came, they unloaded it. We did the math on how many cases were part of this truckload. And I sent an email to the principals and I said, this is not a typo. Someone will be delivering hand sanitizer to you this week, and each school gets 100 cases.
Oh.
And they were like, no, surely you meant 10. I'm like, no, did you read the first part? This is not a typo. So we have tons of lavender scented hand sanitizer at all of our schools.
Yeah.
To
Lavender's
share.
good, it's calm.
I know. I was like, lavender's my favorite. So anyway, we have lots of hand sanitizer, plus we've ordered plenty anyway. So, but we have lots. So we would welcome all of you to take a tour of the school, give the schools a couple of weeks to get settled in because August is crazy. But I mean, if you have families that want to take a tour of a school, and again, just encourage them to look beyond the school grade, because there are hardworking people doing the very best they can and achieving incredible things at all of our schools. And sometimes the demographics of the neighborhood just make that a little bit more challenging than in other locations. But I hate seeing one school compared to another school when they're, in a completely different, if you look at University Academy, they're drawn from a lovely neighborhood of really involved folks, and that's amazing for those kids. Breakfast Point, it's a fantastic neighborhood, and it's really very close to being 100% just that neighborhood at the school because of the expansion. And then where's the Breakfast Point that's next to Cedar Grove? Because there isn't one. There's some great folks that live over there. There's some great houses, but there's no Breakfast Point 100% like that school's drawing from. So all the schools are unique, and we always welcome visitors. Yes, ma'am.
Where does the food for the backpacks come from?
From churches. So different churches in our community have adopted different schools. Some of the schools are big enough that they have 2 or 3 churches who support that, and some schools it's just a one-to-one initiative. So all the churches have their own program, and they set up like on Thursdays, and they have kind of a group packing thing, and they pack the bags, and then someone delivers them to the schools on Friday. So those are absolute game changers for our students because they don't have the free meals to get them through the weekend.
So I see school buses going around delivering food still during the
No,
summer.
that was last summer. So last summer with the pandemic, we had to take our Operation Mobile, and somehow that job fell under the Office of Communications. We know how. Debbie knows how, because, Mr. Hustle thinks I can do all the things, which is very flattering. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to learn how to run a mobile feeding operation. Okay. So we delivered more than 1 million meals last summer, which was incredible, using bus drivers and bay-based employees and paraprofessionals and different people like that. We had 48 bus routes throughout the community, but that was just a pandemic-related thing. Right now, we were talking before, we are suffering from the same hiring issue that is impacting everyone. Right now, we are short, and it's 2 weeks before school starts, and we're easily short 25 or 30 bus drivers, 40 or so teachers, at least that many support employees. And our trouble, as you know only too well, is we can't recruit from other communities because the people can't afford the housing. So, we've had situations where we've advertised the same teaching job 5 times. The people we interview, we hire someone, they accept the salary, but then they go figure out what am I going to pay in rent or to buy someplace to live, and they come back and they say, I can't pay $2,500 a month in rent on a salary of $43,500. You're right, that math doesn't work. We understand that. but we can't fix that piece. So that's really impacting us.
Do they have to live in the district?
No.
Okay,
No,
just
but
somewhere
I mean-
near enough to drive.
Yes, I mean, we actually have people since the hurricane who are still living in Dothan, but I mean, that's a terrible thing to do to someone. I mean, that's 3 hours of driving a day. So we have people that are still staying with family from the hurricane because they can't afford to go find another place. So we can't spend a lot of time and money recruiting in other communities because we know it's going to happen. When they get here or they start looking, they're not going to be able to afford it. So we really try to, who's already here and already has a place to live, and would you like to be a teacher? So if any of you would like to be a teacher. Any other questions?
How long do you think the free breakfast and lunch program will?
That's not our decision, that's a federal government's decision, so I really think it'll depend on the extent to which we're all impacted by COVID-19 again this year. Because we didn't really expect it to be extended for this year, but then we went through what we went through last year, so that's really up to them.
That's really nice to have that.
It is very nice. Now, if and when it ends, we'll just go back to having to collect the forms, and again, about 2/3 of our students qualified anyway.
Okay, good.
So free meals will continue, but they may have to fill out a form to get those meals.
And that's because of the income level.
Yes, it's an income driven.
It's kind of nice though because it makes it even for all students.
It does.
It really kind of levels that playing field too,
Yeah.
with
It does.
the uniforms and, it just helps.
Yes, it does. And we know the kids are eating.
Right. Yeah, they have no barriers to
Yes.
getting food. Okay, very good.
Well, I want to personally thank you, Sharon, for all you do for the students of Bay County, and that message needs to go to all the teachers too, because you're creating the future of this area. So thank you.
Thank you. It's one of those things that it's not getting easier. It's becoming more complicated as the schools are asked and tasked with doing more. And so there are people that think that it is just about, well, you're just teaching them, one subject. Well, no, you're not, because that same teacher might be providing extra breakfast because the kids are late for school. I mean, all the teachers have a drawer full of snacks because if some of the kids don't come until 10 o'clock, like every day. So they're hungry. And that we had this absolutely, I'll end on a sad note, but it is just such an illustration of who we are and what we do. So we had this terrible situation at the beginning of summer school. A student showed up 2 weeks into summer school at one of our elementary schools who had not been attending. So she was welcome to come, but it was a surprise that she had shown up on this particular day. So the teacher sat her down, welcome, we're so glad you're here, and what made you decide to come to summer school today? And the little girl said, well, I haven't eaten since yesterday, and I'm scared. Not good things are happening at my house. Okay, so they obviously fed the child and then begin digging in. So one of our Spanish-speaking employees called the house, the number that the child gave us, because of course there was no working number on our files. And the man who answered the phone spoke in Spanish to the Spanish speaker and asked if the Spanish speaker was calling to inquire about sex services with the little girl. So that's the situation that she was in, but she came to us for help. She knew enough to go to the bus. I can get on this bus. I can go to school, these people will take care of me. And so when the investigators came and this whole big thing, and they started looking at foster placements for her, there aren't enough foster parents in our community, and they were thinking they were going to have to move her. And her teacher said, you can't take this kid who came to us for help and stick her in Jackson County or Washington County or somewhere further away. And so the investigator said, well, what do I do with her? And the teacher said, I will take her.
Oh.
I will take her. So that child is currently living with our teacher, who has 4 children of her own, and has now taken in this very troubled young student. But those are the stories that people don't realize. We're not just teaching math, we're not just teaching reading, we're not just teaching writing. Teachers aren't just working. People say, well, they make all that money and they just work 7:30 to 2:30. No. No, when anyone who's had kids knows that that's not true. The teachers are always working, answering emails, those kinds of things. So we're trying to be all the things to all the kids, and Hurricane Michael did help us in that it got us a grant called the Restart Grant, which enabled us to put 3 mental health professionals at every school. So that's been a great support for our teachers and our students. They're able to do actual, real counseling, not just sort of crisis intervention stuff, but real counseling and therapy on site, obviously with parents' permission, but that's been a real blessing, and that's really helped our teachers know that these children are really getting help, because in the past we would refer a child for help, but it was up to the parents. Are you really gonna take this kid? Can you take this kid? Can you take off work to take this kid? So anyway, the additional mental health support has been amazing, so that's a blessing. Any other questions?
Well, I was just gonna piggyback on that. I just retired from Washington County School District, and I can tell you that they also have the free lunch and free breakfast. They got that extension as well. But to speak to the differences in the lunch and the leveling, all the kids have to put in a 4-digit number, so nobody knew who was paying and who wasn't paying. So every kid put in, teach a kindergartner a 4-digit code and get back to me. The teachers didn't like that part, but they learned it and they did, but nobody knew what the number meant or anything, because it was, so it was pretty discreet.
Well, to teach a kid a 4-digit code and then tell them not to trade with their friend.
That's
I'm 5556. What are you? I'm 6262. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, trading masks.
Listen,
the mask I sent you.
I have nothing but 100% admiration for people who teach kindergarten. There is no way. I love my children. I love my grandchildren, but kindergarten, no.
Right. And I will tell you too, though, that there is, most counties now, you'll still complete an out-of-county request if you're looking to go to another county. And we ran into that in Washington County with the families that were right on the line in Washington County, and then they would have to go through and get permission or vice versa. Most families are working in Bay County, so they were looking to bring their kids here, but they might live there. But it's not a difficult process, but it's just a process to get requests together if the school's not full.
Yes, it's not cool. So these cards exist at all of our high schools. Have their own version of the card. This is a complete set. We have them at the Nelson Building. We want to get them to the chamber. We emailed you guys a link to the digital version. So we hope that parents will use these as a resource when they're looking for the right high school for their student. Because we have parents that have one child at one school and one child at another school because the kids are unique and they're looking for different things. Almost not a day goes by that I don't get a picture of some animal baby from Bozeman. Like if your kid's into farming, Bozeman is your place. They have cows, pigs, and sheep. They have chickens. They have a huge agriculture program at Bozeman because of that's specific to who they are as a community. So we have lots of kids that go there in the vet tech program and graduate ready to begin their veterinary tech careers and go on to vet school. Whereas the children at Rutherford are very focused, many of them, on their IB curriculum and graduating with an IB diploma. We have the ACE program is at Bay High School, and then Mosley and Arnold have their own with different focuses. So Mosley has a great pre-med program. They're really focusing on pre-med. Now in Bay High, gets their new STEM building opened up, which we're hoping is going to be in December. Bay High's definitely going to give them a run for their money because they're building a pre-med program in that STEM building, which is sponsored by St. Joe's. So all the schools are different. We encourage parents to take a tour of all of them.
And those rec cards are on our website under resources, so you can direct your.
And what are you calling it again? You're calling it a what card?
RAC card.
Right.
RAC, R-A-C-K, yeah, RAC card. Like a portable.
Are you leaving that one here?
I can. Would you like me to?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And I looked up the date for our Elevate Bay training, it's August 9th at 11:30. We have it here at CPAR. How long did it last?
That's about an hour.
It's about an hour.
Just,
Yeah, and it's just the what to do's and what not to do's, and we want to make sure that all the Elevate Bay mentors know, like, you're not expected to buy the kids gifts. I mean, some of them do, but that's not it. You're not supposed to meet their physical needs. You're just there for their emotional, whatever you can do, and you're never alone with the kids. So the mentoring is happening like in the back corner of the classroom while the teacher's in the room. You may take them to the library for a little more quiet time, but again, the media specialist is there. So you're never like alone, like, oh my God, this kid won't do what I said. What am I going to do?
Well, and you're not allowed to go, see them after hours either. So that helps you because this little girl was so attached. Like, sorry, I can't do that. Now, I did break the rule during COVID, close your ears. And
I broke the rule all the time.
And we went to her house, and at Christmas time during COVID, I got a big old bag, brought the whole family gifts on her porch, but that was just something above and beyond. You get attached to those things. But this time, I'm going to do a class report with the teacher because it's too emotionally challenging for me to get one kid. But we'll see what Stacy can.
I think the greatest thing about Elevate Bay, and I was just talking to people from the Masonic Lodge about that, is that as grown-ups, when we either give our time or our money to something, you just want to know, did it matter? Because your time is important to you and your money is important to you. So if I contribute to this charity, if I volunteer for this cause, did it matter to anybody? Debbie will tell you there's no doubt in your mind when you leave after your 30 minutes, it mattered. It mattered to that kid on that day. Can you fix all of his problems? No, you can't. He can't fix his home life, he can't fix those things. But in that moment, that time mattered. And that is what keeps everybody going, because you know that you made a difference. So it's very rewarding. All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon.